Welcome everybody to this tutorial on creating a DIY ice bath. Now ice baths have become more and more popular over the last few years. However, they're still considered more of a luxury because of their high cost. For a premium option, you can be spending anywhere between $2,000 to $9,000, and that is a bit pricey for most people. There are other options such as the portable ice baths, which you can get for less than $100. And if you're in a climate where it's cold enough and you don't need to buy a lot of ice, that might work really well. I live in Texas, and to get the water to the ideal temperature for a cold plunge, which is about 50 to 60 degrees, I'll need a lot of ice, and I'll need to refill it with ice because even $60 worth of ice doesn't do a whole lot. And it's also seasonal because in the summer it's almost impossible to take an ice bath. Now the option I'm going to discuss with you today is a DIY option using a chest freezer. I built this ice bath about 4 months ago and it's worked really well for me. It cleans itself and I can set up precise temperatures on it. Right now it's at 49 degrees, so you can get it very cold. And it's fairly simple and straightforward to make. So today I'll show you all of that and where to get the components as well. All right, so this is what the final product looks like. And for those of you wondering, yes, I do fit in here. But yeah, you can store this in your garage or out in your backyard. Depending on where you want to put it, you might want to weatherproof it. Here I didn't have to do a whole lot since it's in the garage. I just got it off of Amazon and then set it up here, and I've been using it here ever since. Now, few things to keep in mind. One is, once you get the freezer, you can't just fill it up with water and just jump in it. There are some actions you have to take to make this freezer appropriate for holding that amount of water and holding that amount of weight and make it safe for use. So first rule is you got to make sure the weight distribution is even. Most of these freezers, they come with wheels, and here if you see I don't have any wheels because I had to take them off. But if your weight distribution is off, you could damage the freezer, break a wheel, cause all sorts of problems. So first thing to do is, before you fill it up with water, just take the wheels off and have it on an even surface. The next thing will be to seal the inside of the freezer. So for the inside of the freezer, there are a lot of cracks and joints in here that water can leak through, damage your freezer. So the first thing you want to do after taking the wheels off is to seal these cracks. You have a few options for what material you use. I've heard of people using silicone caulk. From my research, the best material was this the epoxy putty. I've got this JB Weld water welt from Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description here. But this stuff worked great. It took a little bit to apply, and it was definitely the most time-consuming part of this project. It took about an hour to seal all the top part of the freezer, all these cracks here, and the bottom as well. But after about 25 minutes, this stuff hardens. And for the last 4 months that I've used it, I mean, I've had no problem. This stuff is pretty stuck to the freezer and no leaks whatsoever. So that's as far as sealing goes. Then there is, you might see all these wires out here. And the first question that pops in everyone's head is it safe to use the freezer with all these wires going in? It is, because you have to disconnect everything from the power before you jump in. And I'll show you how you can do that really easily. But yeah, this whole thing is disconnected from power. I never even touch it when it's connected to power. Just not worth the risk. But what these are. So the first one is, this is just a pump for water circulation. These two here, the blue tube is an ozone distribution tube. So I inject ozone in this water about 1 hour a day. and have that filter, have that pump just kind of distributed around the ice bath to prevent any mold or mildew from forming in there. It keeps it really clean. And this one is a temperature probe. So this is what allows us to say, I want this water to be at 49 degrees or 50 degrees or 65 degrees. Whatever it is that you want, there is a thermostat that I've attached to this that disconnects the freezer from power when a certain temperature is reached. And then it turns it on again when right now the setting I have is 1 degree. So if I set it to 50, and it gets to 51, it starts the freezer and it turns it off at 50. So that's what these tubes are and how you put them in water. Again, few options you have there. For me, the best one was to just put a hole in here with a drill, run a PVC pipe through there, and then seal around it with the same epoxy putty that I had. This one worked the best because I'm not putting too much pressure. If I was to run it around here, you would have like a gap here and problem with energy efficiency and also possibly damaging the wires as well. Now, when you put the hole, you can't go through here or here. There is this one, it's kind of a small non-textured area that you can go through, and it goes fairly simple. There is some insulation inside that you got to take out. But this one was also a fairly simple part of this project. Just be careful. There is a light here and there is wiring that goes from here. So just avoid going through anywhere that could damage the wire. So here was a fairly safe option and it worked well for me. So if you use the same freezer, odds are this spot is pretty good for running the wires through. Now, this is pretty much all you got to do with the freezer itself. The rest of it, I'll show you the electrical component and how all of these are connected together. All right, as for the electrical components go, I have them all in this box. And you see two wires going into this box right here. One of them is the electric cord from the freezer, and the other one is an electric cord that gets connected to the wall power outlet. And then I have this button here. This is just a TP-Link smart switch. I just put a hole in this box and brought the button part of it out. So I can easily turn off or turn on the entirety of this ice bath. If you remember, I mentioned earlier, before you get in, you have to turn everything off. This makes that really simple. So I can turn it on, just one click. It's on now. And when I try to get in, I just got to press this to turn it off. This also connects to the Wi-Fi, so you can control from your phone too, but that wasn't really a use case that I had. But this is really, so the box you can get from any wooden box would work. Any plastic box would also work. I prefer the wooden one because I can put screws in it really easily and organize everything well. This I just made here with some scrap wood I had, but really any wooden box you get that can fit about the same dimension, I would say is good. And now let's take a look at what's inside this box and show you how everything's connected. All right, so for this next part, you won't get to see my face, but you get to see what's inside this box and how everything comes together. So if you remember, we had two wires coming in. This is the wire that goes to the power outlet in the wall, and you see how that TP-Link switch is sitting right here. So when I press a button, it's the equivalent of me pulling this plug out. And then on the other side of it, we have a GFCI safety protector that, again, sits between all the different components and the power outlet. So anything goes wrong, this can stop it from doing too much damage. Then down here, we got the four-way switch. And see, one of these goes to right here, this thermostat that I mentioned, and I'll turn it on and you see how this works. The other one, you see another TP-Link switch here, and this goes to our ozone generator. Now the reason I have this here is because I can give it a schedule. You don't need to be injecting ozone there 24/7. So this turns on at 1 a.m., turns off at 2 a.m. Now the schedule can depend on how you want it to be or how long you want to run it. But for me, it's worked really well to have it run one hour a day. It's kept it fairly clean, and I haven't had to really replace the water often. Now this other one, it just goes to the pump that works on the circulation of water inside the freezer. So that's really how it all came together. And yeah, I would recommend using a decent ozone generator. Like this one is worked great, and it's a bit on the pricier side. I think it was around $300 when I bought it. But for a tank the size of the ice bath, you need something that can produce enough ozone to keep that clean. So as far as the cost breakdown goes, your most expensive component is going to be the freezer, followed by the ozone generator, and then everything else is fairly inexpensive. I'll put all the material I used in the description, so you know where to get them. Bought mostly everything off of Amazon except for the ozone generator. So yeah, we turn this off. Everything's disconnected. The moment I turn this on, you see things start to turn on now. And so right here, so I don't know why the video is doing this, but these are not flashing like you see. This one reads 49.9. This one reads 49. So 49 is the temperature I set it to. 49.9 is where it is now. Now once this reaches 50, the freezer turns on. So the way this works is you have the temperature probe that goes inside the ice bath. And then down here, you see I have, where it is, yeah. So I have the freezer plugged into the cooling port of it. So once a certain temperature is reached, it turns on the freezer, and then it turns it off once it reaches the desired temperature. So that's really what goes on in this box. And you know, as I mentioned, like this one, you see it's screwed to the walls of this box. If you use a plastic one, you can use screws, but depending on the thickness, it may not work too well. But with the wooden box, you can put screws in there. You can put holes in here and here fairly simply. Now, last but not least, cleaning out the ice bath and the freezer. So you can keep this very clean with the combination of the ozone generator and showering before you get in this water. You can keep it clean for a very long amount of time. But eventually you'll need to empty it out, clean it up, put fresh water in there. As far as clearing it out and getting all the water out, there are a few options. I've heard of people using pumps to get the water out, using buckets to get the water out. For me, there is a drain hole inside the freezer that comes standard with these chest freezers. And I've seen people go ahead and seal the whole thing, like we seal all the cracks inside the freezer. I just sealed around it. And this will be at your own discretion because technically there is a crack there that water can leak through. But for me, that hasn't been a problem. And what this allows me to do is to just use, this is just a 1/2-inch irrigation tubing. I can just plug this in here. And when you lift the drain plug here, water starts coming out, and you can take this out to your backyard, take it outside the garage so you don't have to flood your garage every time you try to clean out the freezer. So We covered how to do the weight distribution, how to seal the inside the freezer, how to keep the water clean and at the temperature that you want, and how to clean it out. In the next video, I will go over how to make it look a little prettier. It doesn't look bad. I've been using it like this for about 4 or 5 months, but I still want to get some pieces of wood and make it look a little more polished and less freezer-like. But that will be covered in a future video. I'll put some links and some articles that helped me build this, as well as all the material I used and all the components that went into building this. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Thank you for watching.